it's Paul Ryan from OpenX. I'm the CTO and head of product at OpenX here with Stephanie Laser from News Corp. Hi, Stephanie.
Hi, how you doing, Paul?
Pretty good, pretty good. So what do you do at News Corp?
Right, so I'm the Vice President of Advertising Technology and Operations. So I essentially help with the programmatic and ad tech strategy across the whole of News Corp globally.
Fantastic. And CTO and head of product, I guess I deal with everything OpenX at this point as an exchange. We're here to talk about Prebid and why Prebid is a very exciting development. Not new development, it's been around for many years now, but why it's very exciting for publishers in general, and specifically Prebid, how it opens up the ecosystem for a little bit more transparent, experience. So Stephanie, why are pubs excited about Prebid? And maybe you can give a little idea of what Prebid is to begin with.
Yeah, absolutely. So in probably around 2014, 2015, when publishers were essentially still using a waterfall in their ad server, a bunch of SSPs came together, and that point in time, I was at a small startup, and we essentially built this kind of awesome header bidding solution. Kind of went to all of the different SSPs, and we said, let's make it so that we create this auction where all of the SSPs are competing on a head-to-head basis based on price. And so that was kind of like the start of Prebid. It was an open source project at that point in time. A few years ago, it was created into an organization that has many of the independent ad tech players in it, has buy-side players, sell-side players, and then also a group of publishers, which I lead the publisher task force. So I'm oftentimes having conversations about how we can make Prebid a better product for publishers. And one of the reasons why it matters so much to the publisher community is it makes inventory yours to decide what you do with. So it enables the publisher to take back control of the ad stack.
That's fantastic. So what other roles do you have at Prebid? You lead a couple of groups at Prebid. So you want to go through those?
So I lead the publisher task force, but I also lead the privacy and identity group. The privacy and identity group, I think, is extremely important now because with the changes that are existing in browsers and operating systems, we really need to create an environment in which things are continued to be interoperable, and we set standards across the industry on how inventory is bought and sold. And I think it's really important that we are focusing while we're doing that on privacy. So part of the reason why the group is both tackling the uses of identity and privacy is because those two things need to work in tandem with each other. We need to make sure that the solution is privacy by design. Publishers really are the ones that own the end relationship with the user. They're the ones who are being asked to get consent through laws like GDPR and CCPA. And so in that, publishers need to feel really comfortable with the fact that the ecosystem makes it so that they are liable, but they also have control. And that's what Prebid is really looking to form, and what Prebid is really looking to take a stance on in terms of standards.
So why should publishers in general, big and small, be excited about all the things that are going on within Prebid?
Their success, publisher success, is their success, and so that relationship is very important to continue to continue to foster. And Prebid is a way in which we can do this, and a way in which we can rely on companies, specifically independent ad tech companies, where their success is our success.
Got it. So what are the characteristics of Prebid, though, that are very interesting? I mean, it's an open source organization. Prebid itself is open source. So, can you expound on that a bit?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So open source is extremely important to me, as is collaboration between all of the different partners. I think it really helps to set standards that are needed, right? We essentially are running an auction, much like financial markets run an auction, and there needs to be standards and there needs to be fairness that exists within the ecosystem. And Prebid helps to bring all of the different players. It helps to bring DSPs and SSPs together where they can really concentrate instead of little tiny, pipes things that really are not huge differentiators. They can concentrate on things that really move the needle, and then they can agree that Prebid is the way in which we should transact moving forward. So I think it's a strong place that began as an open source project that now can be this point of collaboration and setting standards so that we can all so that independent ad tech can really concentrate on the things that change the industry and move forward versus the messiness of how the last few years we've been trying to get to the point in which we're setting standards or getting to the point in which we know how this technically works. So I think that's super helpful for us.
Can you characterize how dynamic Prebid is as an organization and a platform?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. And I agree that is a fate that a lot of open source projects, fall to. But the great thing about Prebid.org is that it's not just an open source project that people are using exclusively GitHub. It is meetings. It has a board level. It has goals, and it has roadmaps that it's looking to accomplish. So I think that moving this from just Prebid.js, which was what it was when it first started, into a more official organization is what's going to keep it going and keep it running. But like I said, like any open source organization, you can only take out of it what you put in, and that is part of the reason why I've been encouraging publishers to join. I've been encouraging DSPs to join. I've been encouraging agencies to join because it's important that we're hearing the needs of both the buy side and the sell side, and it's important that we help to focus all of the different SSPs and DSPs on the things that matter to us and the things that keep our industry going.
Yeah, I realized that was a little bit of a self-serving question since I'm on the board of Prebid.org. Yeah, it's a very, very dynamic community. Lots of things are being contributed all the time. You mentioned identity, lots of identity modules, and the people in the identity space are contributing. And we frankly, holding companies, DSPs, SSPs, pubs. I mean, it's somewhat of a neutral ground where we can actually discuss what is the value add and how do we want to align success, like you said, and not fight over the pipes.
Yeah.
What's having unique or weird kind of protocols or different ways, and we can come together, and it's a very collegial environment.
Yeah.
So when you talk about success alignment, how is Prebid aligned with the success that you've had at News Corp?
So when I first came to News Corp a few years ago, I knew that Prebid was something that we wanted to do across the organization, and that we wanted to align on that via header bidding because I believe in open source and I believe in transparency. I think that those are the two core tenets of Prebid that were very important to me and was a reason why it was the first suggestion when I came into News Corp as a consultant that we needed to align across our businesses. So through that, we established a team. So we have a team of commercial engineers who work on Prebid. We work on Prebid.js. We work on server, and we
roughly how large is that team, Stephanie?
Oh, yeah. So that team right now is 3. So it's definitely not huge. I actually make the joke that our engineers work half for News Corp and they work half for Prebid because we make sure that any sort of adjustments that they do to the code are contributed into Prebid and that they're constantly talking to the different ad tech engineers. And I think it's incredibly important for publishers to be involved because, ad tech has a specific type of engineer, right? These are the type that are focused on pipes, they're focused on transactions. All of those things are extremely important to the backbone of Prebid. But we have a lot of really great front-end engineers and a lot of really great app engineers at publishers. And so the focus on the needs of the publisher and the needs of things like page speed, the needs of making sure that SDKs are light and quick. Those are all needs that having engineers on the publisher side is incredibly important because they can solve things in code versus ad operations professionals or programmatic people who are like, well, this is what I need you to do, and this is how
Right.
I need you to do it.
Hmm.
Having that expertise, that having people that are focused on speed is incredibly important in making things like Prebid, great projects and a great product in which our publishers can use.
So are you actually saying user experience matters? I was just want to
Oh, I
make
am
sure.
saying user experience matters. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
and yeah, we actually a few weeks ago did a pre-bid webinar where we went through kind of a top 15, it might have been 10 to 15 different do's and don'ts of implementing pre-bid, and we got
Hmm.
the publisher task force together and we nerded out for a couple hours on like the things that matter and the things that don't matter. And yeah, page speed absolutely matters. You actually make more money if you have if you've got page speed together. But it's if you don't look at if you have to look at advertising in conjunction with content creation and content loading and all of those different things.
Hmm.
And without that lens that publishers can provide into projects like Prebid.org, you're really missing a massive piece of what makes it a powerful project.
Yeah, I totally agree. So you've been a very vocal supporter of pre-bid over the years. Why does pre-bid matter so much to you?
In an environment in which I believe that publishers oftentimes got pushed around by tech companies and told how their technology should function and how it should work.
Hmm.
Publishers know how they want their inventory to be monetized, right? There are, and we have people in our organizations that this is their expertise. And I thought it was very important for us to have technology platforms that truly served publishers and truly served the needs of publishers. And
Hmm.
I found that specifically in the use of the ad server, that a lot of the time the developments that would exist within the ad server that most of us use were there to serve the needs of the company that owned that ad server versus publishers. And so when they had given themselves a distinct advantage using features like dynamic allocation, header bidding and pre-bid was there to not quite, but help to try and even the playing field.
Hmm.
I think that was incredibly important in the development of our ecosystem. And so the thing that makes me love Prebid so much is the fact that it is publisher controlled. Like I said before, we are the ones with the relationship with the end user. Therefore, publishers should be the ones to control the technology that exists on their page. And Prebid helps to enable that, and that's why I've been such a vocal proponent. Why I think it's so important is, not only do I think it's a great technology, but I think it's really beautiful that so many players in the ecosystem from different companies with different initiatives can all come together and they can build stuff together. They can make this ecosystem better, and they can make it fair, and they can put their hats down to say, I'm an OpenX person, I'm a Magnite person, I'm an Index person, and they can come together and go, okay, this is what I think is best for this ecosystem as a whole. And I think that amount of collaboration I think it's beautiful, and I think it helps to make us a better ecosystem.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think the transparency is one of the things that I most like about pre-bid. It's like you don't have to guess what's going on in the container, either on the client side or the server side. Just go look at the code.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the transparency is key because we live in an ecosystem in which the ad server is oftentimes a black box. And so to be able to get back that control and that transparency and that understanding and the log level data and the things that all go alongside pre-bid that are so important to publishers to help them make the most money they can and help them support journalism, right? And
Hmm.
help to enable them to do the things that need to be done for revenue generation. I think Prebid is there to serve them, and I've always been really proud and happy to be a part of it.
Interesting. So we talked a little bit about identity before, but let's talk about where the heck pre-bid's going.
So I think Prebid really, for a little while got nestled into like, this is a company that solved for header bidding. It's going to solve for just that. I think now we're realizing that the need for collaboration is more important than just header bidding.
Hmm.
Where we were where we were challenged as an industry for the functionality of the ad server, we are now challenged in other areas. And so I think Prebid is a natural collaboration point where we can prove the exact same, we can prove the exact same, we can take different concepts and we can do exactly the same thing and apply that collaboration point and working together and all of that kind of stuff. I think that this is going to be more than just header bidding. I think that this is really going to be a way that we solve a lot of issues that we have in the ecosystem.
So do you want to chat a little bit about what Prebid's working on in terms of identity?
Yeah, sure. So we are still in the process of putting out all of the proposals, discussing them, all of that being done openly, transparently on Prebid and Prebid's GitHub. So all of the member companies are coming in with what their proposed solution. I set kind of guidelines up, right? There are things that we need to consider, right? It's called the privacy and the identity group for a reason, right? We need to make sure that we're protecting the user experience, that we're protecting the user, and that we're also making sure that the publisher is getting transparency down the value chain. Mm-hmm. And so that is the lens in which I've asked the group to look at proposals, and I've asked for them to send out how they would like to see the future of the ad tech ecosystem. And so we're right now in the sandboxing phase. Everybody's putting out their proposals, and then we're talking about, what would be necessary in order for them to meet all of the different criteria that I've laid out at the beginning. And that's where we're at today. I think that there's a lot of different proposals that are around. Mm-hmm. There's whether we move toward a direction in which we continue to use an ID, whether we move towards an anonymized type of function in which we do not have an ID and we have some more information that is publisher self-declared. I think that that's also an opportunity as well. And I don't think there's going to be one solution, right? I don't think we're all going to get together and we're all going to say, okay, this is the exact solution and this is the way that we're going to move forward. I think what we really are going to be doing is saying, okay, I think this is a layered approach, right? And it's going to be layered based upon user controls. It's going to be layered based upon publisher controls, and what everybody is okay with accepting when it comes to advertising.
So what's fantastic about that, I mean, historically, though, within Prebid, it hasn't been, I mean, for example, there are 11 or 12 user ID or user identity adapters that Prebid supports, and yes, more are being contributed all the time. So you're, in a sense, with Prebid as your either on-page or server solution, you realize that we're going to pull it together, we're going to sandbox it, and then we're going to write code and make sure it works.
Yeah.
Right? So yeah, in a sense, you're future-proofed a bit in Prebid because there's a ton of people. I mean, how many identity working groups are there now? Right? I mean, look, there's IAB and there's Project ReArc and there's, the Trade Desk initiatives. And, I know there are a lot of them because I have to go to all the meetings. And what I really like about Prebid, and I know I'm grandstanding here a bit, but we're very pragmatic. Okay, we're going to things as they adopt. We're going to adopt. It's not, to promulgate a single member's kind of benefit. And I think it's going to be a pretty, heterogeneous environment for quite some time. Yeah. And so I think that's what I really appreciate about Prebid. So this has been fantastic, Stephanie. I think we have a really good sense of why Prebid's important, why folks are excited, why you're excited about Prebid. And why I'm excited about Prebid as well. And so thank you very much for being with us today.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me. And, we're always looking for more people to contribute to Prebid. We're always looking for more people to be members and part of the thought leadership that's happening in Prebid and part of the roadmaps and the development and the timelines. The more diversity that we have in the group, the better. So come join Prebid.org.
Thank you very much. Now it's time for questions and answers with Paul and Stephanie. So please enter your questions in the chat, and we'll endeavor to answer them directly.